A new mid-size EV SUV is coming up with the Genesis Gv70 Ev. This vehicle here is available with combustion engine, both petrol and diesel, but now there is the electric version, and you can see it here with the closed grille, but in this dot structure. And with Thomas and Autogefühl for you, we'll tell you all about you need to know with this vehicle, including the driving part. Burgundy is this very interesting color here for today. We also have some other color choices, for example, a red one or a matte green, military style, or my favorite, the matte gray. That looks best, I think. The front lamps here very slim, daytime running light integration. That looks very modern, so quite modern styling in the front. Do you like it? 4.72 m or 186 inches is the length here of the Genesis Gv70. The EV version is no different. So from the exterior you cannot differentiate it from the side profile. The direct competitor would, for example, be a Mercedes GLC, but that's not available electric yet. Well, here 20-inch wheels mounted for today. And we can see that we have the chrome frames around the windows, has an elegant styling and a very interesting design line right here. Suspension-wise, the EV version directly comes with the otherwise optional ECS, that's the adaptive dampers, and here also in the preview function, so it scans the road ahead. Really clean design here also in the rear with these tail lamps that are very horizontally drawn and very slim. And did you know that this is also a performance SUV? Has all-wheel drive, one electric motor in the rear, one in the front. 4.2 seconds is the acceleration figure to 1 km an hour or 62 miles an hour. Very impressive. And also for efficiency, they both use on the rear and the front axle a permanent synchronous motor, and that means they are more efficient. But usually they are always running even if you're rolling. But they can decouple the front electric motor when rolling, so there's then less resistance, and then usually when you're just like running rather straight, just the rear electric motor is active. So it is predominantly then a rear-wheel driven car, and then front electric motor when you really need it. The top speed is 235 kilometers an hour or 146 miles an hour. So they also thought about the German Autobahn. Yeah, we Germans need the high speed, you know. So and we'll test the German Autobahn, of course, with this one here today. There is indeed here a small frunk. Oh, ain't that cute? Well, at least you do have one. Would that be a relevant factor when buying an EV? Tell me in the comments that as well. And talking about the engines in general, about the general vehicle here, well, this is the EV version, 77 kilowatt hours net battery. That will bring us a range more or less 400 kilometers or 250 miles, maybe a little bit more. We'll see about that later. It also features a heat pump, so you don't have so much range losses in winter times. Other than that, the general platform here of the vehicle offers a petrol engine 2.5 or in the US also a 3.5 liter V6 and also a 2.2 liter diesel. Charging port is here hidden in the front. That looks cool, right? And it has a 800 volt architecture. That means charging from 10 to 80% state of charge when you have a proper DC charging station in less than 20 minutes. And this is indeed segment leading. And turning indicator check. That looks quite fancy, doesn't it? And just in the rear, it's not that spectacular. The reason here they keep it in the lower part is that when the hatch is opened, you can still see it. That's also mandatory or by law, actually. By the way, we also caught a pink vehicle color. That looks also interesting, doesn't it? Door closing sound. It's actually quite good. Have heard better ones, but definitely heard worse ones. What's cool here, the door, look at that. It really continues all the way to the lower area. That means, yeah, you can easier scratch the ground when it's, you know, when there's like a bump here or something. But the good thing is that the whole area here in the entry area there, it always stays clean. And here it already starts what I love about this vehicle here. Real controls. This is the real deal. You have real buttons and they are from good build quality. I really love that also how the contrast stitches are aligned here and so on. That makes a very good impression. And you can also see it here at the steering wheel. You have real controls, also the jog here for the volume, for example, and it looks premium, it feels premium. At the same time, you offer a classic user interface. Seats, they look quite comfortable. I'll soon test them. However, one strange thing here with the EV version, you have some fabric in the head restraint, but main part is animal skin, and for the petrol engines, you can get leatherette seats, for example. Well, why not here? maybe at a later stage, I don't know. Seating position here with 189 or 6'2". There is still some headroom left, and there's a nice comfort feature here. When I turn on the ignition, steering wheel comes down, seat goes forward, and this then the final seating position. And seating position itself from the ergonomics is actually quite decent. You have a nice comfortable seating position, and once again the quality, how everything is thought out and planned, that makes a very good first impression as well. Interior overview, really clean here from the surfaces and so on, and here wrapped tightly, 14.9-inch screen, really horizontal widescreen format. What I love best with this vehicle is that they once again show it looks modern, it looks clean, yet at the same time we have a real climate dial which you can feel and turn. And that's the way to go. I think this is actually a good way they found. Yes, you also have the screen here, for example, to activate the seat, the steering wheel heating, for example, or the seat heating right here. So they don't have knobs for everything, but for example, here for that, or at the steering wheel, I've shown that to you as well. And also some hotkeys that you can quickly access the map, for example. It's important, by the way, in a way that you still use the car internal GPS, because when you use that one, you can have preheating for the battery for fast charging. That won't be possible with Google Maps or Apple CarPlay. Then here in the lower part, we have also this control unit, where you can control the infotainment system while driving. It's also a good function to have. Driving mode selection, soon tell you more about that. Another real volume jog, and this everything resonates very well with that quality. And this in the drive mode selector, drive, reverse, and neutral if you ever need that. And then here for the parking. And also when you open these things here, like here, that it feels so smooth when you open that. I love these details. 2 USB-A chargers. You can also fit a second phone there. Also, inductive charging is in the front there. But for the Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, you need a cable connection. Cup holders are adaptive and also keep bottles very tight. This Genesis water, the new Genesis water. No, I'm just kidding. So, yeah, that works very well. And then we have this middle console armrest. And let's see, it's quite long, therefore it does shake a little bit. Underneath, however, it's nice that we also have this felt covering here and more space there. It's really dark, but there is a lot of space. The car internal map is, well, not the coolest one, not the most modern one. As I said, the advantage is that here then you have a preconditioning of the battery when you pick a charging station in there. Other than that, you would go for the Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Has a nice integration right there. And then, of course, here use the Google Maps and so on. Digital instruments are clear to read. The only thing that I think is missing in the middle part is a big digital speedometer, so that could be better when you switch through driving modes. The instruments also change in the sports mode. Also the side bolsters of the seat changed, by the way. So that looks actually quite fancy. And here, once again, you can also select the terrain modes. I do that with the button in the middle console. Also interesting is here that lower right part. So there I can actually change the recuperation mode with the shifting pedals at the steering wheel. Maximum recuperation, or then lower it. And when you press and hold them, look again at the lower right, you switch from the auto mode to the normal mode, and that is actually also affecting the recuperation. There's also a head-up display available. Rear seating area. What comes to my mind visually is here contrasting seat belts. That looks really fancy, doesn't it? Maybe not for everyone's liking, but yeah, I do like it. Isofix at the outside seats each. Let's soon check the legroom. But here the door. Also in the rear we have some soft touch, so good build quality. And also the lower part there, the door sill is really low there at the doors. So you don't make your, lower trousers dirty here at the entrance. This is all staying clean. Legroom when I'm driving here as a tall driver, it works. It's not abundant actually. You cannot change the back part here. Here it works very well with the recess. But when a tall driver is driving, not too much legroom. Headroom, however, is actually totally fine. Then, although it is EV, it is also a platform sharing with the ICE models. Therefore, there is this small step here in the middle part, but it's more or less okay. So, in the middle position, you can sit, but it gets close with the legs. Yeah, maybe not the most comfortable one, but it works for shorter trips, for example. Oh, and not to forget, this lever here changes the back part of the seat. So then you can make this one a little bit steeper. Well, that's maybe too steep, or more backward. But yeah, I think the backward position in this case is the best choice. You would put it like this when you need more trunk also. Porsche Macan style opening here for the trunk. Otherwise, there's also this cool function that when you access the vehicle with the key in your pocket, you just stand still and then it opens automatically after a few seconds. Here then the trunk space. You don't lose too much here in the EV version. Width is 1.40 meters. The length is a little bit less than 1.40 meters, so a little bit missing right here. And the total height here is about 72 centimeters or 28 inches. Well, it could be higher underneath the cover here. This is, like a free cover without rails. But you have more space here in the wheel arches. There the trunk gets a little bit wider, but you can see here when you use this one here, it's not high enough for you to, so not ideal. I would like a little bit more depth underneath this cover here. You can put smaller things in here, but for a charging cable, I think that won't even work. What's interesting that you can, that's nice here that you have this, hear that? Click, and then it's secured. And then you can fold the seats. Let me put in the head restraint first here. So, folding the seats like this, and they fold directly properly. Welcome to Thomas's driving lounge in the Genesis Gv70 Ev. And the cool thing they paid attention to here is sound design, active sound design. Off is just silent, as you might know it from other EVs. Then you can go minimized, normal, or enhanced, like how strong it is actually pronounced. And steering feel is actually quite decent. So let's see how it changes throughout the driving modes. You have to reach down here when I go, for example, to the sport mode. Is it stiffer? Yeah. So in the sport mode, we have a little bit more resistance. That's actually a quite nice feeling. Also, the bolsters come a little bit closer to you. You have to stick quite a lot. I would say it is most comparable to a Mercedes driving feeling from the steering, whereas the Audi ones are, for example, more progressive. And the BMW, the X3 would be the comparing model to that, is also a little bit sporty in the feeling, I would say. The adaptive suspension does a good job, so it is relatively sporty from the setup, I would say. We also have 20-inch wheels mounted. That also accounts for this sporty driving feeling. But indeed, it feels very sophisticated here. So the combustion engines already, these versions there from the Gv70 already told us that it's a very, very good competitor here in the mid-size premium SUV segment. So it's definitely on par with BMW X3, Mercedes GLC, Audi Q5, and all of these have their specialties in some certain areas. And to me here, the cool thing is really that they offer us a classic user interface. So I can really just easily change the temperature while driving, and especially Mercedes is going away from that. BMW also with the new OS 8 then as well. Audi is a little bit more classic, more traditional than in this case. Yeah, then brake feel, because it's always a thing with electric vehicles, do you still have a proper brake feeling? But so far, satisfied with that. So let's put it to the sport mode and hit the German Autobahn. Yeah, there we are with the sport mode. I also have this enhanced sound now. You can have something of the active sound design. And what about the acceleration of this one? So I'll start at 40 kilometers an hour and accelerate it out. Let's go. 130, and we're already at the back of that vehicle here, GLA. Wow, that was 40 to 130, and now when we're already at speed, at 110, let's go. Woo! 150, 170. That is super quick, and wow, also really high speed stuff. 200 kilometers an hour, 125 miles an hour, and now hard on the brakes. Full recuperation plus using the rear brakes, and good braking performance indeed. Wow, that is good agility, like that. And also lane changes here. It's nice. Adaptive suspension set on a sportier note than here in the sports note. Sports mode. Sports note in the sports mode, right? Yeah, that's really nice here. And I mean, there's good noise insulation, also at higher speeds. The car feels really very well in control. Comparing the combustion engine model here with the electric one, here we have the low center of gravity. So that helps actually in agile driving. Just when we are in tight corners, of course, the car is pushing a little bit more. But the driving feeling is definitely comparable. Both the combustion engine and this one here, very good in the driving indeed. I mean, in the US, it's especially attractive to pick the 3.5 liter V6, of course, for this engine as well, you know. But it depends on the charging infrastructure. It's really just a pity. I mean, this EV here drives so well, but the so far offering of animal skin only in a modern electric vehicle, that is actually a deal breaker, you know. So I really hope they will have some markets worldwide where they also offer these leatherette seats or whatever, also for the EV model. Yeah, we can just push them for that, for a little bit more sustainability. But driving feeling wise and comfort, this is really in every respect here a very, very good driving feeling and experience. The question is just, what about the agile handling when it gets a little bit tighter? That's where we're heading now. Here we go, more agile cornering. Once again, a good steering feel indeed, and the suspension is doing a good job. As for the seating comfort here, when we have been driving a little bit longer, by the way, I feel that the seats are fine from the ergonomics, but this looks really cool with the fork here. But they're not segment leading. For example, the new perforated synthetic seats in the BMW X3 are to me more comfortable, and also the Volvo seats are great in the ergonomics. The Volvo XC60 would also be a competitor which has better ergonomics in the seats. Here now when we have this longer band and accelerate out, the steering gets a little bit light than when accelerating out. Still I have a little bit more punch from that rear electric motor, but it's definitely a lot of fun. And here we go, real world range. So on our test loop we had topography changes, but also high-speed motorway driving here on the German Autobahn. That of course put the consumption a little bit higher than usual, but it's also a realistic thing, at least in Germany. And then we end up at 23 kilowatt hours on 100 kilometers. That is some 35 kilowatt hours on 100 miles. In this case then only a range of 330 kilometers or 200 miles, also with somewhat cold temperatures, not too cold though. If we would leave out the high-speed motorway driving, we would more come close to some 20 kilowatt hours on 100 kilometers or some 32 kilowatt hours on 100 miles, and that would bring us closer to a 400 kilometers or 250 miles range. That is the same also when you have like an Ioniq 5 or the Genesis Gv70 or the Kia EV6, only that this one here, because it's a little bit bigger, has some range disadvantages. So it is not the range king, more king in the quick recharging if you have the according charging station. If then the ICE model, the petrol engine, is more relevant to you, we have here the Gv70 review of that for you, or a direct competitor would be the BMW iX3.